International Women's Day, everyone. It's another day and we're celebrating the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women across the world. The theme of this year is Digital, that's innovation and technology for gender equality. It's Wednesday in Review. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi, and as always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Julie. Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day. I'm excited about today, maybe because of women, the fact that we're celebrating International Day. And I just want every woman to know that they are worthy. Every woman should know that they are strong, that they have powers within them, they have the capacity to be, to do whatever it is that they want to do. And they should stop limiting themselves. You know, we keep talking, the last event I had to speak to some secondary school girls, and I remember one of the things I told them was that they should make themselves proud in every situation. They should put their hands on their chest and say, I'm doing this to make myself proud. So it's okay to make your parents proud, it's okay to make your family members proud, but you are still the most important person, and anything that you're doing that will bring that down, you should desist from it. And so I'm telling every woman out there today that you are amazing, and it's okay to want anything that you want. Your wants, your desires are valid, and make yourself proud.
Thank you, Nonima. How are you doing?
Fine. Thank you, BC, for the International Women's Day, because that says it all.
Right.
Anything else? Yeah, okay. Since we have talked International Women's Day, let me see. In what way have I been an example, I guess, as a woman? So this year, when we started this year, I really wanted to work and build the relationships that I have, like, you know. So I registered my siblings and I for a 1-month gym membership. And it was not about going to the gym to lose weight or anything, but it was a form of bonding for us, and we have learned so much. We've even become closer because we now have time that, so first of all, at setup we have meetings. That was late last year. We have meetings. We've now gone on to you know, working out together. And I'm realizing, and it's important because I'm realizing that we have to work on relationships. And I feel that women are always the ones that think about these things. And so as a woman, I've put that into consideration, and I'm bonding my family better. I'm making us much more, you know, closer. And because of that, we're even having ideas that can empower us in so many other ways. So yes, happy International Women's Day to everyone.
So I'm very excited also about International Women's Day. The theme this year is Digital, which is innovation and technology for women. I think it's important for women to become active agents in STEM, you know, in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And it's important that women are also given opportunities in this sector, especially. So I'm happy today. I'm going to be speaking at UNICAF about educating women. I'm also going to be attending Rema Bank. So I'm pretty excited about today. We must celebrate women today. It's one of those days to remind ourselves as we're getting educated. Let's also educate the boy child, because they're the men that are going to be partners to these women in future, and they must be real partners, and equality must become the future notion of women of development. We must be equal in gender, family, businesses, in the corporate world, in areas of life. There should be gender equality so that women have the full capacity to achieve that which they've been created to do.
Digital.
Let's go. Yes, on a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the front pages of the book. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
to start with the nation. INEC reset of BVAS, a must for governorship poll. Excuse me. Daniel Jim Obamidele, 98 senators elect, get their COR, their certificate of return. Banks pay old naira notes to customers. APC supporters march for democracy. Transform Nigeria, NSCIA tells Tinubu. Sanwo-Olu takes campaign to markets. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Should we start with major headline? Okay, so applications already are before the presidential tribunal, election tribunal for, BVAS resets. So the Labour Party and the PDP are saying that, they should reserve the status of the BVAS as it is until the entire petition is seen to. But the INEC is saying we need this same BVAS to conduct the next poll this weekend, and so we need to reset it already. Also, the APC have applied to the petition, the election petition, to inspect election material used and get copies of it before time. So I think the APC is in the right order, not because of any sentiment now. You can inspect and take copies that you need for your petition while the BVAS is used for the polls. But the other parties are saying retain it as it is without. And INEC, at this point, hands are tied. People are now suggesting that the elections for this weekend will be postponed because of this situation that we have on ground. But, some parties know the right thing to do. They are also citing what happened in Osun State. And I'm saying Osun did not have an immediate election after the governorship election, so they could reserve things as they were. But as it is now, we have another election ahead, and things could be done differently. Also, INEC has sacked the INEC rec for Sokoto State, and the reasons are not given in the report. But the INEC has asked that the rec in Sokoto State, Dr. Nura Ali, be excused immediately, and it was signed by the INEC secretary in the state. They've also asked that the administrative secretary in Sokoto State immediately takes over and act and take supervisory national commissioner for any clarification for that going forward. But the reason for that removal of the rec is not given.
Yes. Okay. I have Muhammadu Buhari give a women's message for International Women's Day. He lauded the achievement of Nigerian women in all facets of life. And he said that the only thing now is that the women were underrepresented in the political space, and something has to be done about that. So that message, it says that he's saluting the hard work and dedication of Nigerian women, working tirelessly and achieving results in different fields of endeavor, from their sacrificing daily in the markets, to the farms, to the train, the next generation of leaders, to those breaking limits in education, sports, medical field, arts, entertainment, and even politics. They are still largely underrepresented, and we have to do something about it. He said also that he's very proud to have worked and associated with some of Nigeria's brightest women in his cabinet, government, and in the international community. He's thanking the Amazons that have served meritoriously as partners in the progress witnessed in his political, economic, and social fronts. Also, different organizations had their own messages to women, and the bottom line is that we need to still keep the fight alive for gender equality.
Okay, I've got banks pay old naira notes. So some banks have continued to the payments of old naira notes to their customers yesterday, but this is in spite of the failure of CBN to issue a formal directive to that effect. Nation says that they have been trying to make efforts. They've made efforts for to get clarification from CBN on what the way forward is. They said they finally got a source who volunteered information on the matter and said that there's no information to add or to refute on the current scarcity of naira at the banks, and asked that the nation goes to the different banks and update themselves. So if we look at the different states, we have some bank branches that paid old naira notes in Oyo, Edo, Rivers, Abia, Kwara, Imo, Anambra, Plateau, Jigawa, Akwa Ibom, and Yobe. There are some other states. So in Lagos, they mentioned that some bank branches paid and people received, but some banks refused to collect some people when they go to the bank refuse to collect the naira notes because for them they say that the traders, fuel stations,
not taking it.
many other people are not accepting it. Even in Plateau State, they're saying many of the traders do not recognize the old notes as legal tender. So now what do we have? We have a confusing situation.
Yeah.
We have Supreme Court that says go ahead. We have the CBN that is mum. We have Nigerians that don't know whether we are using it or just scattered.
Yeah, so they're still expecting the CBN to say something about the 500 naira and the 1,000.
Yeah. So the Deputy Secretary General, Professor Saleh Susheu of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs yesterday led the victory of the President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was saying specifically that the council is confident that he will bring to bear the wealth of experience in assembling an all-inclusive team of experts in the administration of our country in a way that would foster unity and peace, as well as engender sustainable development that we all crave, which is an important message at this time. Moving on quickly now to the Punch. Fuel stations, others reject old naira. Bank Russian cash, as we said earlier. Lagos cannot get lion's share as local governments share 2 trillion naira. Fuel scarcity to linger till after elections, says marketers. LP and MPP kick as police bar dogs from polling booths. Aviation fuel hits 850 naira, 840 naira. Airlines predict flight delays. Over 200 cyber attacks blocked during presidential poll. Viva's data intact. INEC tells court and parties. Okay.
Yeah, I have local airlines on the airline operators of Nigeria have disclosed that aviation fuel, that the Jet A1 has become scarce, and the situation, according to them, may lead to flight delays. The Assistant Secretary of the Airline Operators of Nigeria says that the aviation fuel is not available. There's still scarcity, and yes. And then they talked about the prices. They said that sometimes that one thing with the aviation fuel is that it's the price is a deregulated market. So it's however the prices go and how much quantity you even buy. It says, but the prices usually range from 700 to 900. And it also shows that Nigerian aviation sector spent 192 billion in 2022 on aviation fuel. But we're also trying to explain that the steep in prices has a lot to do with the war that's going on in Ukraine and the increase in crude oil prices.
Yeah, that's what in Punch.
Yes, so there's scarcity of premium motor spirit, that's the fuel, in Abuja and some other northern states. They mentioned Nasarawa, Niger, and more states up north. And they said the cost of petrol has risen to as high as 400 naira per litre. The black market people are selling 450 to 500 naira per litre. And they said one of the issues they're having is the fact that they are not sure of how the elections would hold, and so people are not moving their trucks to go pick up the fuel and supply, and that's what is. Then secondly, the fact that there's this cash crunch, the fuel stations are not collecting cash as well, and so people are not able to do their businesses, and so it's going to likely linger, especially in the north, till after the elections. Maybe then the queues will ease up.
Okay. Any other stories in Punch? Let's final story.
Labour Party NPP kicks as police wars. So the police PRO for Olumiwa Adejobi has read out section 126 of the Electoral Act that bans dogs and classifies dogs as offensive weapons, as some of their owners and handlers are saying that they would go to the polls with them this weekend as protection against dogs. And they also classify them generally, warning people not to do this, to bring their dogs to the polling units.
So how do you protect themselves then?
Protect yourself.
How?
They come with dogs.
Whatever you consider.
What if you endanger someone?
No. The Electoral Act bans it.
I know, but they say that the rationale behind it is the fact that thugs will come in and attack. Thugs are more afraid of dogs than
they are preempting.
Do they obey the law or disobey the law because of
not. I'm just asking. There's a rationale behind why people are saying they are going.
Well, we saying that thugs cannot come out with dogs too, so she does with dogs.
Those dogs don't.
Dogs. We now have dogs. Okay, now we can bring our dogs. Let's bring our dogs.
Cannot be a dog.
Let's bring out our stations or all those bulldogs and.
But that's not the point. The point is people are trying to protect themselves, so they should have looked at the reasons why this is happening.
They've looked at it. They provided security.
Which
polling units are supposed to be safe places.
Was it
Like
safe?
for backup, the soldiers were there at the last elections. They don't bring your dog. I have a trauma from dog bites. I cannot. Don't bring your dog to a polling unit. I would not be able to vote. I won't even come close. So.
Okay, because people can read it as a way to scare people.
Polling units.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Did you listen before? They were dog dogs before.
Yeah, so it's across the country. Sometimes in every part of the country.
Are we saying that there was no
soldiers should be
security at all in other places? We know that
security
something
didn't have
happened. We know that some places that there were. But we also know that security was provided.
Yes,
So to now say that people should bring dogs will make for a better dog, we were just making it worse. We were making it worse.
That's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we bring in Dr. Olumide Emmanuel to discuss his Global Real Estate Executive Bootcamp. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right.
Have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in
Thanks for staying with us. So we have the common sense guru with us. He's one of the world's leading relationship experts, motivational speakers, wealth creation agent, and over 3 decades of transforming lives. His influence spread across religious, secular, and he is an apostle in the marketplace. Please welcome with us Dr. Olumide Emmanuel
Thank you.
So I've been hearing about this
Moneymaker.
GRIB real estate executive bootcamp. You want to make money, you want to make all of us money makers and billionaires and billionaires. What's going on? What's this project about?
Well, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here again. I'm here to give Nigerians and those in diaspora a wealth creation and wealth building opportunity. Over 20 years ago, I went into the real estate sector. And one of the things we've been able to do in the last 24, 25 years is we've been able to train, mentor, coach, and raise a lot of other real estate players that are doing amazingly well. They have become major players in the industry. And over the years, a lot of people have come to be trained, to be mentored, to be guided. But as one grows old and goes higher, your time becomes limited. So you don't have the time to do a lot of what it is you want to do. So what we're doing right now is giving more like, I don't want to call it the last opportunity, but it's most likely going to be the last opportunity for people to come into an atmosphere they'll be trained and they'll be equipped to become players in the real estate industry. So in the month of July, from Monday the 3rd to Sunday the 9th of July, for 7 full days, we're having the Global Real Estate Executive Bootcamp, and it's going to be fully residential. So once you come in on Sunday or Monday, you are shut in for 7 days. Whenever we sleep, we sleep. Whenever we wake up, we wake up. By the time you come out on the other side, you are equipped with what it takes to produce in the real estate sector, because we've done it before. We have testimonials, and one of the things I'm doing is we're bringing some of the people we have raised that are already doing turnover in billions. We're bringing them to also come and share their own story and show how they got to where they got to.
I see that in the video.
Yeah, you all know our story. She's one of our testimonials, and we've been able to help her in the last 2 years to navigate into the industry. And she's going to be coming to share about women in real estate, and it's going to be herself and Grace Ofure. We'll talk about women in real estate and how to start out as a woman. So we have a lot of about 50 modules. It's going to be amazing.
So is there like a criteria that you go through to pick the people that can come, or just anybody who has?
Well, number one, if you are interested in creating wealth, if you're interested in building wealth, if you're interested in sustaining wealth, then this is for you. So this is for high net worth individuals, this is for career people that want to plan their retirement. So you are presently working in multinational and you are thinking, when I retire, what do I need to do? So some people want to retire into investment, but they don't know what kind of investment to do. Real estate is the only vehicle of wealth creation that is also a vehicle of wealth retention. It's the only vehicle of wealth creation that is also a vehicle of wealth retention. Stock market can crash, businesses can go bankrupt, but real estate never fails. It edges against inflation, edges against devaluation, and wealthy people all over the world use real estate to retain their wealth. So if you're planning your retirement, when I retire, what am I going to do? So you can come into real estate either as a regulator, a realtor, a developer, or an investor. So if you're in any of those categories, then for couples that want to build wealth for their children, you want to be able to build something that will last. All the designer stuff, all the stuff, your cars and all the stuff will expire, but real estate will be there for a very long time. So anyone that can afford it, then they should come.
Now that you mentioned afford it.
Yes, so.
What is the
It is the cheapest for what we are going to be offering. And it is just 7.5 million naira. For 7 days fully residential. Now, listen. One of the reasons why I came here today. Today, we are using YourView today to be the launch of our app. Tomorrow now, I'm starting Insta Live series with people that we have trained. So it's going to be tomorrow night, 2 of them every day, just showing them off to people, telling what they're going to be sharing. So what we are doing is we're giving 50% discounts to as many people that we plug in between now and the 1st of April. And that's also so that you have an opportunity to play. Because let me give you an example. We're going to be using the Sheraton Hotel, 7 days fully residential. Just calculate the discount price. Let's even say it's 100,000 times 7. That's 100,000 already. You're going to eat 60,000 times 7. That's already money. The materials we're going to give people, you'll be amazed. So listen, this is the Lagos State plan for the next 30 years.
Oh, wow.
2022 to 2052.
Oh, there's a legacy plan.
Right here. Everybody's going to get it. Now, this is the plan for all the Africa's model megacity development. They're going to get this. This is the real estate executive masterclass and boot camp. They're going to get this. This is what we, all the curriculum already here. And then we have all the developmental, because many people don't know that these things exist. So someone was with us. Someone was with us in Rwanda in 2021. And then he told me, I wanted to say, how much do you say? I have 50 million. I said, okay, you know what? I will advise you to do land banking. He said, okay, what can I do? So I said, buy this land is 40 million, buy this one is 2 million, buy 5 plots. And he spent 50 million, 1 plot 40 million, 5 plot 10 million at 2 million.
Okay.
As at last year, the one he bought for 40 million is now 65 million.
Okay.
25 million in 1 year.
Yeah.
The one he bought for 2 million is now 6 million each in 1 year. So many times people don't know. We know where development is going. It's only when people hear them go to development and then they start going to by the time they are going there, it's gone. We know what the next 5 years is going to. People are hearing Third Mainland Bridge. Third Mainland Bridge has been in the plan since 1999. So some of us knew that as at 2000 we had already bought 30,000 naira land.
Wow.
And the land you are going to buy at 10 million and we bought at 30,000, 50,000 in year 2000, but we're willing to wait. Because in real estate, you don't wait to buy land, you buy land and wait. But when you know where development is going to, because the future is cheap if you buy it today. A city today was a village yesterday, a village today will be a city tomorrow. So these are all developmental plan. This one is Apapa, your area. This is Ifako Jaye.
Wow. There's a book for each of them.
Everything.
This is Ikoyi, Victoria Island.
Was this your own book or Lagos State government?
This is Lagos State. Now they have all these things now. Minister of Physical Planning.
But the ones that put this book together.
They have it. We just go there and buy. So we are going to begin. So when you are saying 7 million,
So now you make
cheap.
informed decisions.
Yeah, someone is looking. This is Badagry Master Plan, Planning Strategy. And this includes, I hope you know that there is a West African plan for that area.
Okay.
So there was an amusement park that was to take place there that would be like a major Miami stuff. It's still in the pipeline, the entire West African region. So we know where the development is going to. So we are saying, because when we say 7.5 million, it's cheap. Because before we have done this, even before you leave the one with people are making their money back.
So this 7.5 billion that are getting 50%, can we pay in installment? Most of us don't have money. We're small.
Okay, so now once you are plugging in for this 50% discount.
Yes.
Once you are able to make a deposit that is substantial, with a caveat that if you now don't make it, there will be no refund except the one we can refund. Because the reason why we are doing 50%, the reason why we are doing 50% is I want to spend 20 million on publicity. But if by the time you pay 3.5, I already have it locked down. I don't need to spend 20 million on publicity. Maybe I'll spend 6 million. I don't need to wait till July. So the earlier you come, so if you tell me, okay, I'm doing the 3.750, this is 1 million. Well, you come in, I know that's locked down. I know next. Because it's not only for people out there. You see, we have Real Estate Development Association of Nigeria. Everyone that is a member of Real Estate Association of Development, Redan, anywhere in the country, once you can show proof that you're a Redan member, your own is 3 million. Even cheaper than every other person. If you're a member of the Billionaires Conclave, your own is 2.5 million, just because you're a member of the conclave. If you are an alumni, that means you have attended 3 years ago, 5 years ago, you say, I want to come for a refresher course. Your own is, so there are cheaper levels of people at different levels.
Your friend on
Rep 360. We'll talk about that. So when you pay this money, you're going to be getting over 50 curriculum and bringing in a lot of people that will be sharing all kinds of stuff.
My leg don't fall. No, I'm just saying. I'm saying for the
Lagos State agencies will be there because we need to deal with this planning issue, policy issue, the building collapsing, and all of a lot of people they don't follow the master plan. They go and build on drainage, they use connection, and all the because one of the challenges we have in the state government is that there is no connectivity between all the agencies. So one agency is saying this place is not okay, another agency is giving you approval to go ahead, and then so all those things, all the 4 agencies will sit down. They are all coming together. We can ask you, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? So it's going to be a very, very massive opportunity. So once you register, you are getting about 100 million naira worth of inventory.
Okay.
So we're giving you lands and houses, 100 million. So take, you have 90 days to go and see if you can sell. And you're going
That's
to
if you're
make,
interested in selling.
if you're interested. So by the time we teach you, you'll be interested. Everybody's a marketer.
I don't want to invest.
Yeah, you want to sell because
No. You see, what I mean is, you have attended the conference.
Okay.
You want to start out. You say you don't have money. It's okay, forget money. This is 10 acre.
Go and sell it.
use it without paying.
Okay.
Go and sell and make money. But when you sell, you make money. So a lot of people will make more. In fact, some of them will make 10 times of what they are paying. It has happened before, so it's not anything new.
Sometimes they worry that the people really have money because
No, forget that side. Forget that side. I just finished a conference this weekend. Our conference is $3,000 per person. Magic school. We book 42 rooms, so don't. We are not talking to poor people.
But that is
The people that know us are hearing our voice. The people that we are talking to, they are hearing. The people that does not belong to.
We have to wrap up. We have to wrap up.
Call us. Go to the website.
What's your website?
www.olumide.org/grib. GREEB.
Yes.
And then you are there. You can call the number 0809. Okay, the numbers are on the screen.
Yeah.
Call those numbers. Just take the picture, note the number, call us, chat us up. I'm telling you, this is an opportunity that anyone that wants to really create wealth cannot afford. It's not a joke.
We're looking forward to seeing you at the end of this and see the success, because I know
we can talk about stories about every time you hear the name Revolution Plus, anytime you hear the name Zealous, anytime you hear the name Pertinence, anytime you hear the Life Faith, Sentinel, these are all people that I trained, that I raised, and they are there. We see what they are doing. The same thing they went through. When you hear Rep 360, 2 years, and you see what
she's starting everything.
You see what she has done.
We gotta go.
How to sell in the diaspora market, everything. Once you practice it,
thank you so much.
You will do well.
That's all we can take on this segment. Thank you so much, sir. We wish you all the best and good luck. And if you're interested, please call the numbers on the screen and go to their website and get more information. Let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to other guests. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Ask questions, stop coming. I may not even ask questions. I may just. I may even tell you I saw this.
What if it's in person? But then, would it make a difference where? So like, this person might just say, you people can just be on 3rd Mainland Bridge. On a bike. And the person say, babe, I cannot do it again. And you lose range. So what would change? What would change the scenario? For, like, does it matter where? Do you want to have like a fancy dinner, like the film you were meant to be talking about?
Finding up
and
you,
then,
right?
or do you want to be on the street?
Don't carry me
Or
go fancy dinner.
or you might just una dey run for treadmill.
Or you not a joke.
Don't tell you lose for your web.
Now I don't turn attempted murder.
So which would it be? Because I'm like, in person you have the closure that you want and the few injuries.
Guys, that's one place. It could be inside the car. You can sit inside the car.
Why car? Why not bike?
Who will be driving?
Why bike?
Who will be
No,
driving
now
at
the
this
car will
point?
be stationary.
Pray I'm not the one driving.
The car
Just
will be
pray.
stationary.
Because I go master. You can't be telling me like me. I'm gonna drive near water.
All
You
of
must
us-
consider.
Gentlemen, pioneer, positive force member, dancing queen of the 80s, non-conformist, Afrobeat historian in her right, and long-standing member of the multiple award-winning all-female show Your View, Omoyeni, Yeni, Anikulapo Kuti, aka YK Power! Ginger,
Take it.
today we'll go here.
Hey, I don't read you.
Are you sure?
I'm not here to answer questions. I'm here to drink.
We're in trouble today.
Wait till your age.
I was close now.
I
said 1975.
He said 73. He said 75. Fellas wasn't even born till 75.
So will I drink half?
You go drink. Take. Make I help you. Russian.
No be half.
Which half? You will make me drink. I'll give you a hint.
Lights in no. Nepa Road. Nepa Road. In Abeokuta.
First of all, my brain cannot memorize everything.
A big black bug.
A big black dog.
Bug. A big black bug.
Oh, sorry. A big.
It don't start.
Ọmọ Fẹlá. Ọmọ Aníkúlápó Kútì. Wọ́n rò pé kí ni kékeré yìí.
It's by Audison. It's not by Audison.
Yes. So Laifa had a very, very interesting.
You wouldn't want to work with who?
There's no judgment.
No, and I
They'll
respect,
judge you
I
definitely,
respect
but we won't
this
judge
certain
you.
type of people. But what I dislike so much is when they tend to come to work and then they pour all their
Resentment from
on
whom?
you. Is it me that offended you? I'm not the one. I have no business. Mom just come and work with you, pay me at the end of the month, and let me go back to my house in peace and sleep. But when it comes to like divorced people, I cannot work with a divorcee. I can't see myself doing that. If I find out, if you can hide it or not, but if I find out,
When they're nice divorcees.
I would just
What
be.
if they are nice?
Okay, now it depends. If you are nice, cool. But if you are the type that you don't know how to keep your anger to yourself, you always pour it on somebody. Well, I'll just drop my resignation letter, no matter the amount you're paying me.
So it's more passive aggressive people.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm so sorry.
Oh, definitely.
And I cannot work with stingy people.
See this one.
Because you cannot be passing me in the morning, afternoon. I can say, oh, hi, yeah, I'm working. Oh, yeah, take 100 naira, take 10K, take 15K. You don't have to be my sugar daddy or sugar mommy. See, the way you treat others is the way they will treat you outside. And if you cannot treat your workers well, they are not a good boss. If you cannot be dashing me small thing or giving me donuts when I'm working, you are not a good boss.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, La General, the one and only Pere Egbe. Which of the following is false about teeth? We are born with 20 primary teeth. Teeth are the hardest substance in the body. Teeth are the strongest bones in the body.
Teeth is not a bone, actually.
Teeth can self-repair.
The strongest bone in the body, no. Teeth is not a bone.
Final answer?
Teeth is not a bone. You know what came to my head now? That sound. Crickets.
So, editor, you can put that cricket sound there. You can still put it down too.
When was the first Gulda ultimate search? Editor?
Don't put any cricket sound. I'm talking. Okay, Pere. How many times has Ghana qualified for the World Cup?
5 times. Hey, you can't do that now.
That's what it is.
Wait. Calm down. Why are you like this?
This is your team.
Small play
they,
now.
They will not
somebody
be
cannot play with you again.
They will not be impressed though. The team that you're supporting. And
Ghana.
Thanks for staying with us. Today we'll be taking a closer look at some of the successes of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Here with us now is the Honorable Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
So when we're looking at the review of the current governor of Lagos State, and we can't help but remember the work that was done during COVID. And many have said that he was a successful leader that championed the fact that COVID did not overwhelm the nation as a whole. Could you give us some excerpts of what happened during that time, the challenges he had to face, and how he triumphed over COVID?
Yes, so I mean, we all recognize that Lagos is one of those mega cities. It's a coastal city, it's low-lying, it's rapidly expanding. It has a very vibrant airport. It has multiple seaports, it has an international border, and it has connections to the rest of Nigeria. To feed 20 to 30 million Lagosians, you need to bring in a large volume of livestock. So when you put all that together, it's low-lying, heavily populated, coastal megacity. It adds up in biosecurity parlance to high levels of vulnerability. So as you know, in government, you look at what's happened before, you look at what's happening around the world, and you look at what the projections are. And we've been experienced in the past with Ebola, with Lassa fever, with cholera, with flu. And we know how fast things can get out of hand. So in Lagos, we have this offensive approach to pandemic or biological shocks. We know our vulnerabilities, and we know that we need to intervene very quickly to make sure that whatever comes our way, we can get on top of it. So after Ebola, we were really very worried about what could have happened in Lagos. We were able to get on top of Ebola, but many of us traveled to Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea, and saw what devastation Ebola rendered onto the economies. So we came back to Lagos, and with the then Commissioner for Health, Dr. Jide Idris, we were able to build on the past infrastructure to develop what's called the Lagos State Biosecurity Roadmap. WHO were telling the world that to expect a global pandemic within 5 years of that Ebola outbreak, which meant somewhere around 2019, 2020, we were to expect something big. And indeed, they were right. But we were listening to them, and we were preparing. Most people didn't know what we were doing. You know, why are you preparing for something so big? What's the deal? But luckily, we were able to be ready. And the day we heard about Wuhan, it was almost weeks after we commissioned our Lagos State biosecurity infrastructure. And so we just ramped things up, and you know, we in cabinet we identified that Lagos was at some point not going to be able to avoid COVID-19 because of our movement between Nigeria and China, movement between Nigeria and Europe. We started to see COVID spreading around the world, and it was just a matter of time. You know, so when we got our index case, we were actually fairly well prepared. You know, we had the infrastructure, we had the human resources, we had the equipment. We learned a lot of lessons from Ebola, and so for us, it was time to be aggressive and offensive, you know, and make sure that we diminish the opportunity for the virus to get into the Lagos community. And once it got into the Lagos community, we were able to put in place all our standard operating procedures to make sure that community transmission was minimized. But as a government, you know, our main function is, and you know, when you heard that The Economist voted Lagos and Nigeria the 4th best COVID management environments, what they said was not how many people were saved or how many people didn't die. What they actually said was these were the countries that were able to keep their economy open. despite a pandemic.
Right.
You know, because we are really looking at human livelihood
Yes.
and security. At the end of the day, you can be too heavy-handed. We call it the tripod of biosecurity. You can be too heavy-handed with your public health response and at the same time cause economic hardship, which leads to breakdown in law and order and loss of security. And then you lose more people from your economic hardship and your breakdown in law and order than you would lose from the pandemic itself. So government has to find that balance, and Mr. Governor really was fast to respond. He set up the incident command structure, which means that the management of COVID was elevated to the cabinet, the highest level of authority, which made it easy for us to make quick decisions and get on top of things.
Okay, so I know that when you compare Lagos to most of the states, it's nothing to compare, really. We have a lot of people coming into Lagos for medical care, what they can't access in their states. But let's talk about the primary health care centers. What was the situation that this current administration met, and how has it upgraded so far?
Okay. So we inherited quite a number of primary health care facilities. We have over 320. A lot of them were just repurposed buildings, you know, so a local government chairman would identify an old office or a school and say, okay, we're going to convert this into a PHC. That's one. Very few of them were purpose-built. And many of them are very old, going back 20, 30 years. So many of them have some degree of wear and tear. The other thing is that according to the national rollout plan for PHCs, we're supposed to have at least one PHC per ward. Now the way Lagos is designed, we find that sometimes we have 2 or 3 PHCs in a ward and some wards don't have any. So we're looking now at 2 things. Mr. Governor has put in motion what we call the blueprint for medical transformation, which is looking at infrastructure and designing infrastructure fit for purpose at all 3 levels: primary, secondary, which are the general hospitals, and our specialist hospitals. So we've got a group of international designers working with local designers who are experts in medical design, and we've developed what we call the blueprint for our transformation. And the first to roll off the blueprint was 3 prototypes of our PHCs. And these are beautifully designed, taking into consideration the movement of the sun, ventilation, the soil, the heat, infection prevention control, cultural practices. And we've come up with this beautiful design, and we're now beginning to roll them out in Lagos State, especially where we don't have a PHC in a ward. We've started to build.
How many has been built so far?
Well, we've just started the first 4. The blueprint came out 2 months ago. It took us about 2 or 3 years. Even during COVID, we're working on this blueprint. So we just got permission and approval to start. We're doing 4 this month. We're starting, and then another 10 throughout this year. Going back to the established PHCs, all those ones that we have identified that need refurbishment, we have approval to start working on those, which we've started. We've started going out to all the places where we've identified these PHCs. And the primary healthcare platform, you see, is the foundation. Who has said, look, we need to decongest the general hospitals and the specialist hospitals because we need to manage most of our patients at the PHC level.
Okay, I would like to also talk about, yes, so infrastructure is there, but also we need to talk about affordability of healthcare. And I would like to know what this present administration and Governor Sanwo-Olu is doing with Lagos State Health Management Agency. That's the agency that's in charge of insurance for Lagos residents to get for health coverage.
So every state in Nigeria has what's called the social health insurance scheme. So for us in Lagos, it's called Ilera-Eco. Ilera-Eco is your health insurance, and up until late last year, insurance was more or less voluntary. You know, now the new National Health Insurance Authority signed a new bill. Mr. President signed the NHIA bill, which had a major change in the law, which said that state health insurance is now mandatory. Which means that if you're a Nigerian or if you're Lagosian and you're living in Lagos, you're doing business in Lagos, you're breathing Lagos air, just like if you are driving a car in Lagos, you must have insurance. You have insurance to drive a car, you must have insurance to live in Lagos. So every citizen needs to buy an insurance. We've done a lot of actuarial work on it. It's very modest. It's only 8,500 naira per person for an entire year. That insurance affords you access to a bouquet of services. Basic services like hypertension, diabetes, birth control, immunization, management of pregnancy, birth of a delivery of a child, cesarean sections, minor surgical procedures, the bread and butter of what all our citizens go to doctors for. 80% of patients, their conditions can be managed at a PHC, at the primary healthcare level. Complications, they get referred to the general hospitals. And if the general hospitals with all their specialists can't manage it, maybe it's a super complicated case, then that goes to LASUTH or to LUTH. Of course, we have private sector that are doing incredible work as well. So, we have this hierarchy of referral.
Right.
But we want the bread and butter to remain at the primary health care. And the insurance that we're talking about, everybody with that insurance, you take your card, you go to your PHC or your private sector, wherever you're enrolled, and once you hand in your card, you don't get charged until you exceed the bouquet of services. Right. And then there's a fee for service after that.
Right. Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our conversation with the commissioner. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Ask questions if I want to ask questions. And if it's something that I saw coming, I may not even ask questions. I may just... I may even tell you I saw this coming.
What if it's in person? But then, would it make a difference where? So, like, this person might just say, you people can just be on 3rd Mainland Bridge. On a bike. And the person say, babe, I cannot do it again, and you lose range. So what would change the scenario for, like, does it matter where? Do you want to have like a fancy dinner like the film you were mentioning?
Or do you
want to be on the street?
No, carry me go fancy dinner.
Or you might just una dey run for treadmill.
Or you not a job.
Don't tell you lose for your web.
Now I don't turn attempted murder.
So which would it be? Because I'm like, in person you have the closure that you want and the few injuries.
Guys, that's one place. It can be inside the car. You can sit inside the car.
Why car? Why not bike?
Who will be driving?
Why bike?
Who will be driving at this
point? The car will
point?
be stationary.
Pray I'm not the one driving.
Just pray. Stationary.
Because I'll go master. You can't be telling me like me. I'm going to drive near water. You must consider.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known, for when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, And last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the grand comedian of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Gbenga Adeyinka the First. OJ right here, 7 of 7, like you already know.
Gbenga right here, 7 of 7, like I'm beginning to know.
It's now time for the question.
You don't scare me one bit. Bata bata, I go drink. So,
okay. So now one chance for Inter. My first question. Do you remember the names of the winners of that edition of StarQuest?
Of course I do.
Why do you?
And I hate myself. I have this question for you. Final question. No. Where outside Nigeria and what year? I think you're the only one that can be wicked.
I am thinking, because I know back in the day.
Don't think. Answer my question quick. You are thinking too much. I don't like it.
The UK.
Final answer. Okay. I said, God, please, let me to.
Thanks for staying with us. We have the Commissioner for Health in Lagos State. You had a question for the break. Go ahead, please.
So, COVID was a case in question that, really tested the how will I say, competence of this government. I wanted to, talk about, I had COVID, I went to the center, I had to do a test, and I went back and forth. How did you get the doctors to stay? What exactly did they do, to get the doctors motivated enough to stay and fight with you guys?
So the COVID response, the medical personnel were divided into two. We have our biosecurity team who are centered around the infectious disease hospital. They're accustomed to dealing with very dangerous pathogens. So we've been training them for about 4 years before COVID. We had extensive training that if we knew that we needed other medical personnel, we had trained them just in case we needed to recruit them. But what we did during COVID was to separate COVID management from normal medical care. So we only managed COVID in about 3 or 4 of our hospitals and left the rest to deal with normal healthcare requirements and health-seeking behavior of our citizens. And that was a deliberate strategy on Mr. Governor's part because we didn't want collateral damage. So, if every hospital is designated a COVID hospital, then people will not go to the hospitals because they'll be scared to catch COVID, So people going for hypertension, diabetes, surgery, birth, and everything. In fact, we dropped the tariffs completely during that COVID period, and we saw an increased surge of people going to the rest of our hospitals for normal medical care, whilst we maintained COVID in designated centers.
Was that insurance package something to motivate those doctors to stay more? Because, yes, this is part of their duty. They had this call that they must, adhere to, but was there a special package?
Yes, we had a hazard allowance, a special hazard allowance, and then lots of overtime because they were working 24/7. They couldn't even go home. We kept them in hotels because we were worried at the beginning that they would infect their families, so we put them up in hotels. We fed them, we gave them special hazard allowance. So they were, prepared for the outbreak.
Yes, I just wanted to when you talked about insurance, you talked about the 8,500 that Lagos resident has to pay. But is there anything that's been done by this administration for those who cannot afford to pay that amount?
Yeah, we have what's called the equity fund, where the government has a register of less privileged citizens who might even find 8,500 a bit too much to pay for the year of insurance. So through that equity fund and through a lot of donors, we are able to pay for citizens who feel that that fee or that tariff is too much for them, and so we pay for them, and so they can access the Loreco.
Let me come to the issue of research, because during COVID, one of the things we saw was the fact that many universities were actually seeing what they can do. How the vaccines that were provided was research based on university work. And we really worried that in Nigeria, we didn't have any kind of proper research institute that was providing solutions. So I heard somewhere, I'm not sure if it's right or not, but Lagos State was also getting involved in research. Is that correct? Could you verify?
Absolutely. Yeah, from the word go, because you could have done a cut and paste. What are they doing in UK, what they're doing in Brazil, what they're doing in China, and just apply the same to Lagos. But from the very first index case, and then the subsequent cases, we already put together a very strong research team from University of Lagos and from Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. And there was a team of about 40 researchers that were looking at every case of COVID and observing the natural history of COVID in Lagos. And we found that there were significant differences between COVID here and COVID in different parts of the world. And indeed, other parts of the world found that COVID behaves differently in different ethnic groups. So we're able to adjust our response based on our indigenous understanding of what COVID does to our citizens. And that made a very large difference to how we're able to respond to the outbreak.
Okay, we know that we have a pandemic of brain drain across Nigeria, so to speak. And doctors just feel they are not getting enough commensurate to the work that they are putting in, and they opt for other countries. What has Lagos State, that's with this administration, done so far to keep their doctors here, and what's the plan going forward?
Okay, so we're looking at several things. First of all, if you talk about infrastructure, what is it that our medical personnel, when we talk about medical brain drain, it cuts across all cadres, doctors, nurses, allied medical professionals. So we're looking at the environment. So we're going through this blueprint I mentioned before, which is transforming the infrastructural landscape of Lagos State. Where you work, like I'm looking in this studio, and this is a nice studio. You want to come to work. So our infrastructure is very important for the mental welfare of our staff. So we're going through a massive transformation of building new hospitals, the Massey Street or George General, the psychiatric unit, infectious disease research center. These are all beautifully designed hospitals that take into consideration the welfare of our staff and our patients, and look at climatic factors as well. We're looking at their welfare packages. They have a lot of issues around their packages, which we've been addressing consistently and engaging with them. We're looking at medical tourism. So we want to make, in the Lagos State Development Plan for the next 30 years, Lagos needs to be the medical destination for medical tourism. For us to do that, we need to look at why our doctors are leaving Lagos and going to seek health in India, Dubai, South Africa. And we found that there are about 5 top reasons for that. So we're concentrating on that. One of them is cancer. The other one is heart and kidney and orthopedics. So we're developing these centers here. And what we're trying to do, people talk about Jakpa. We're now talking about Jakpada. So it's brain drain and brain gain. So our doctors from Nigeria in the diaspora, they want to come home. But what are they coming home to?
Okay.
So we need to now develop those specialist facilities for them. They've gone away and spent 10, 15, 20 years excelling in specialties, subspecialties of medicine. And then you ask them, come back home. Come back home to do what? So a brain surgeon needs a place to come home and do brain surgery. A heart specialist needs a place to come back and do specialist heart investigations and procedures. A kidney specialist needs a place to come and do transplant. A cancer specialist needs a place where he can offer modern cancer therapy. So we are developing these facilities. So we are trying to reduce the push factor by improving the conditions of our doctors and medical personnel at home. And we're reversing it so that even if they do go, and there's nothing wrong with doctors going abroad. Doctors go abroad to develop themselves. They go abroad to get a broader experience of what's going on in the international environment. We want that. But what we do want is we want them to come back.
Yeah.
And that's the brain drain strategy that Lagos is using. And it has started working because our facilities are already attracting medical specialties from the diaspora. And you know, these specialists that work in the diaspora, they're very mobile. You know, they can even carry out a consultation on Zoom.
Yeah.
They fly in, they do what they want to do, they fly out, they go to another part of the world. So the world is changing. Digital technology is changing the way we deliver healthcare. And I think we're taking advantage of that.
Let me not throw in the last question.
Well, I just wanted to know what packages you have for other members of, the health team, the nurses, the lab scientists, all of the other people.
So we're working on every cadre of, they're engaged with all of them. Is it the allowances, the salaries, the accommodation? We're looking at accommodation for medical personnel in all our hospitals now so that we can make life more comfortable for them. We're looking at hazard allowance. We're looking at better pay packages. We're looking at more comfortable working environment. We're looking at just elevating the respect, and the whole atmosphere of the medical ecosystem.
Well, I think we can wrap up on that. Thank you so much for giving us an update on your administration, what you've done so far, and wish you all the best.
And happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. That's true. Any plans for women? Special plans for us?
Well, make sure you invite me, please.
Let's go on a break. We'll come back and meet our next guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the grand comedian of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Gbenga Adeyinka the First. OJ right here, 7 of 7, like you already know.
Gbenga right here, 7 of 7, like I'm beginning to know.
It's now time for the questions.
You don't scare me one bit. Bata, I go drink. So.
Okay. So now one chance for Inter. My first question. Do you remember the names of the winners of that edition of StarQuest?
Of course I do.
Why do you?
And I hate myself for this. Because I have this question for you. Final question. No. Where outside Nigeria and what year? Think you're the only one that can be wicked.
I am thinking because I know back in the day.
Don't think. Answer my question quick. You are thinking too much. I don't like it.
The UK.
Final answer. Okay. I said, God, please, let me to perform outside Nigeria.
Wait.
And God gave me a trip, a show in Ghana. Drink, my friend, drink. I don't
overthink this thing. See where I can.
Yes, you overthink them.
I would say you should catwalk.
Let's catwalk now. Where are we?
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Thanks for staying with us. Joining us on the show now is the Director, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Lagos Bus Service Limited, Mr. Idowu Ogutono. Welcome to the show, sir. It's a pleasure having you.
Good morning.
Good morning. We wanted to start with transportation in Lagos because one of the things we are seeing around is buses. We see them parked in parking lot, not so much on the roads.
Right.
And we're thinking, when are these buses going to get on the road, and what exactly are the plans to decongest the bus stations, in going forward for Lagos State Government?
Right. So thank you very much. Maybe first of all, I'd like to wish you a happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
And it's a privilege to be on your show. Right. So if you look at Lagos State is a mega city of about 23 million people. And that poses such a huge challenge in terms of how you organize the public transportation within the state. And so in trying to respond to that challenge, one of the things the government decided to do is a bus reform initiative. And that initiative essentially is meant to basically just reorganize the whole bus system within the state, from the infrastructure that supports the bus transportation and the buses itself, and all of that. So currently, within the state, you have over 1,000 buses that are being operated by different operators. Now, Lagos State Bus Services Limited, which is the organization that I represent, is Lagos State Government's direct intervention within that bus transportation space. And so as a company, the state has invested about 350 buses just within the span of about 2 years. Right, and those buses on a daily basis provide mobility for over 70,000 negotiants. And of course, there is a service plan in terms of how those buses are deployed. It's very much unlike the informal operators, where an operator can just have a bus and then pick up the bus in the morning and just decide on which routes they want to go on. But as a regulated bus service, right, that we actually have service plans, meaning that you have designated routes, you have the minimum number of buses that you need to put on those routes, you have timetable, you have schedules, and all of that. So what you find is that at designated times, right, we deploy our buses from our depots to stations, to terminals, to provide transportation from our commuters from point A to point B. And so today we currently are covering well over 30 bus routes, starting from 6 at the inception of this administration. And so we find that there's been such a quantum leap in terms of inclusion and coverage of this service, from Festac all the way to Leventis, from Ajah all the way to Abule Egba, from Ikorodu all the way to TBS, across the whole city. So
I'm sure I understand what you said. So buses were around 1,000, right?
Yes.
You own Lagos State Government owns about 350 of that. Others are owned by private companies.
Operated by private companies, correct. Yes, yes.
Yes, so a lot of people, I mean, as you know, this is campaign season, and we've heard some of the conversations around that, especially about BRT lanes.
Correct.
And some people are saying that it would have been best to have other buses, mini buses, ply those BRT lanes. Why do we have it the way it is right now, where only BRT buses can go through those lanes and all the other mini buses go through the regular lanes?
Alright, so the essence of having a BRT lane, which essentially is a dedicated bus corridor, that's the concept really. And what you want to do is you want to minimize travel time, right? And we must keep the road, those lanes, you must keep them as free as possible. You need to optimize it because it's got a limited capacity. Now, when you begin to now crowd those corridors with buses that are not under any regulation, there's no sense of, okay, what's the routes they're applying and all of that. It's just going to be completely chaotic, and that's what you have in other developed societies where you have bus lanes that are dedicated for mass transit utilization, right? So a mass transit bus, for instance, the buses that we operate, right, will carry 7 people per time, right, as against a car that will carry about 4 people per time, So the effect of that is that with every bus you inject, you're taking off approximately 15 to 20 buses, right, off the road. And so we need to be able to optimize that corridor. And I think the conversation really should be about how we deepen the use of public transportation, right? So one of the mayors of Bogota in Colombia made a very profound statement, right? I said a developed country is not a country where the poor own cars, but where the rich use public transportation. And really that's where we should begin to drive, that's where we should begin to go to, where there is a deep culture of transportation, because the public transportation is reliable, it is efficient, it is comfortable, it is safe, and all of that. So the idea around opening up the corridor for other users is just going to defeat the whole idea, really, in my view.
Okay, so let's talk about affordability.
Correct.
Every Nigerian wants something cheaper.
Right.
We complain that minimum wage is still very low, and so
absolutely
you don't want to spend all of your salary in transportation. What is the plan for affordability for especially people who are using this transportation system to access their businesses and workplaces?
Thank you very much, and that's a very good question. So one of the mandates that we have as an organization is to provide affordable public transportation. And so if you look at public transportation, or the cost of transportation itself is quite high, right? And if you focus specifically over the last 1 month thereabout, there's been escalation in the price of the cost of petrol. There's been a cash crunch, and that has made the use of public transport, or transport generally, very expensive for people. But one of the things we've done really is to halve our existing fare, right? So we've taken off 50% from the cost of transportation. So relative to other modes of transportation, right, today our service, right, under the leadership of course of our governor, is 50% cheaper, right, than any other public transport that you will find. And that's essentially, one of the indices for measuring an efficient, public transportation system, by making it affordable. So regardless of your social or economic status, you are able to access this public transportation. And really that's what we're doing. So our public transportation at this point in time is extremely affordable.
Yeah. So let's talk about the routes that you go. Because you mentioned now you called Festac, and I'm thinking after Doba, is that how far your buses go? We in the interior, deeper into towards the Anoba Okoko, we're waiting to see when the BRT buses will come. Also, they have a strategic designated lane for the BRT buses.
Yes.
How do you then, expand into the interiors the other areas that are not on the major roads.
On the roads. Okay, so good. So one of the things that has happened within the whole bus transport space is that you have different modes, right? So you have the high capacity buses which we operate. You have the first and last mile that sits about 6 to 8 people, right? So the idea is that the inner routes can only be covered by the first and last mile. So they help to provide that connectivity to the bigger buses on the major road.
I don't see them on the bus, on the road. Last miles, I see them.
I see them, I see them in the main,
white and blue?
in town.
The smaller
minibuses. The smaller one, but not enough in the area. I'm talking from the Badagry Express.
So my question is, just to cut you, those small buses, they are they under your own
they're actually bigger than Kurokwe. So they're under Lamata. Lamata is responsible for regulating the whole public transport system within the state. Lagos Bus Service Limited is the state's appointed bus operator, and basically we operate the high capacity buses. So you have other operators that do operate the smaller buses, and that's responding to the last mile. So our bus takes you to a particular station, and you probably still have about 3 kilometers to get to your final destination. All right, we can go within the inner road. So the idea is to connect those smaller buses to our bus using the same payment platform, which is the carry card, and then providing comfort and accessibility for our commuters.
So I thought you also had those smaller last mile buses. I thought I've seen them parking spot. No, they're not yet out.
No, they're actually out, but they're not under our operations. So you have other operators, right? Because there's also the inclusion of private operators within the whole bus system in Lagos State.
The BRT buses.
So we're speaking specifically
how many do you have an idea of how many last mile, first mile buses are now out there, and what do you plan to do to build on the capacity of the buses?
Okay, all right. So there are currently 500 buses, first and last mile out there, and the idea is that, of course, government does not have the wallets to cut the check for all the buses. So the idea is that once you demonstrate the proof of concept with these initial 500 buses, then the private guys come in and they begin to fund and they do the operations themselves. So today, as of today, we have 500, first and last mile buses that are operating within the city.
How foolproof are your bus stations? Because when you get to a bus station, you should easily be able to identify, okay, this bus comes here, this time, how we see abroad, but you can actually predict, you can plan your trips based on that.
Absolutely.
So, but when you go to the bus, you're just asking people, madam, please, which bus is here? Which way? How are you making your bus stations such that people can actually understand where the routes are?
Okay, so that's a good point you've touched on. Now, within the bus reform project, there is the ITS, which is Intelligent Transport System, right? And what that is basically made to do for you is to help for planning and scheduling. And part of the things that will do, which is currently being implemented by Lamata, is that at every bus station, you will have a passenger signage that speaks to the arrival time of the next bus, the waiting time, and all of that. And all of that is integrated to a backbone, to a command and control center, where those information, those data are being actually sent out to the commuter. So yes, we're not yet there, right? But that fits in perfectly into the bus reform initiative that the government is currently implementing.
Okay, that's another way. But thank you. So and just like the man said, it's campaign season, so everybody's saying, what has this government done for transportation? Because many people are worried about the waiting time at the bus stations. Sometimes, especially when there's fuel scarcity, you end up waiting so long. Do you have independent ways of fueling your buses such that it doesn't get affected? Like when we're having issues, you shouldn't be having issues. You have to have independent supply.
Absolutely. So we speaking specifically to your fueling question. So we have a depot from where we stable our buses, we wash them, we maintain them, and we deploy them. And there we have a fuel dump, and we have a contract with a major oil supplier that provides us with diesel, and we ensure that we fuel our buses regularly. Now, speaking to what we've done, I think it's out there for us to see. So first off is providing options for negotiants. So if you want to go on a demand, you want to order for a cab, so you have a lag ride, right, that gives you option for you to call on the cab and then you can get on it. If you want to connect your first or last mile, you have the first and last mile buses. You want to get on a major road, all right, you have our own buses.
The land ride is under you guys.
No, it's not under us, right? And then you also have, of course, we know the Blue Line. Everybody knows about the Blue Line. That's going to be providing mobility for over 500,000. We know about Lag Ferry and all the initiative going on within that space, right? All right. So the idea is to connect all those buses, so you have a multimodal integration such that seamlessly you can connect from one mode to the other. Now, part of the achievement that I've also said is about the affordability, right? At this point in time, 50% shave or haircut on your cost of transportation is massive, right? It's massive. And in terms of travel time, right? Today, if you get on the corridor, the BRT corridor, you save as much as 1 hour on your journey time. Right, so that is also a massive, massive achievement.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gutana, for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, bring on our next guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome pioneer Positive Force member, dancing queen of the 80s, non-conformist, Afrobeat historian in her right, and long-standing member of the multiple award-winning all-female show Your View, Omoyeni, Yeni, Anikulapo Kuti, aka YK Power! Ginger!
Take it.
Today we'll go here.
Hey, I don't read you.
Are you sure?
Ha. I'm not here to answer questions, I'm here to drink.
We're in trouble today.
Wait till your age.
I was close now.
I
said 1975.
He said 73. He said 75. Fellas wasn't even born till 75.
So will I drink half?
You go drink. Take. Make I help you. Russian.
No be half.
Which half? You will make me drink. I'll give you a hint.
Lights in no Nepa Road. Nepa Road. Nepa Road. In Abeokuta.
First of all, my brain cannot memorize everything.
A big black bug.
A big black dog.
Bug. A big black bug.
Oh, sorry. A big.
It don't start.
Hey, ọmọ fẹlá. Ọmọ Aníkúlá Pókùtì. Wọ́n rò pé kí ni kékeré yìí.
It's by Audison. It's not by Audison.
It's not just where, but who wouldn't you want to work with?
Yes, that's another angle.
So Laifa had a very, very interesting.
You wouldn't want to work with who?
There's no judgment.
No, and I
they'll
respect.
judge you
I
definitely,
respect
but we won't
this
judge
certain
you.
type of people. But what I dislike so much is when they tend to come to work and then they pour all their
resentment from
on
whom?
you. Is it me that offended you? I'm not the one. I have no business. My just come out with you, pay me at the end of the month, and let me go back to my house in peace and sleep. But when it comes to like divorced people, I cannot work with a divorcee. I can't see myself doing that. If I find out, if you can hide it, but if I find out,
when they are nice divorcees,
I would just.
What if they are nice?
Okay, now it depends. If you are nice, cool. But if you are the type that you don't know how to keep your anger to yourself, you always pour it on somebody. Well, I'll not drop my resignation letter, no matter the amount you are paying me.
So it's more passive-aggressive people.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm so sorry.
Oh, definitely.
And I cannot work with stingy people.
See this one.
Because you cannot be passing me in the morning, afternoon. I can say, oh, hi, yeah, I'm working. Oh, yeah, take 100 naira, take 10K, take 15K. You don't have to be my sugar daddy or sugar mommy. See, the way you treat others is the way they will treat you outside. Yeah. And if you cannot treat your workers well, they are not a good boss. If you cannot be dashing me small thing or giving me donuts when I'm working.
Thanks for staying with us. We have with us Dr. Adebola Odunsi. He's the Senior Technical Assistant to the government on LASEPA, and he'll be discussing various initiatives, one of which is the Eco Clean initiative that this administration started. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
We've been hearing about this Eco Clean Air initiative. I mean, we've heard about it from LASEPA. How is that going, and how far have you come?
It's fantastic to be here and to be able to talk about the environment, because it is one aspect of life that affects everyone. Nature versus nurture, they say. You can't have nurture without nature. You know, our environment determines so many things about how we turn out, right from our quality of life to our life expectancy. It ties into health. It ties into every facet of life, pretty much. So for us, ensuring that the environment is one of the most important things on the table is very critical to the government of the day. We have been charged, or we're charged as an agency, to look at how to bring to the average Lagosian the realities of the environment and what their duties to that and to the environment are. And this has birthed the initiative Eco for Clean Air, which is a mix of advocacy, of an advocacy strategy built to bring policy education, policy awareness to the average Lagosian in terms that they can understand, and more importantly, to reskill and retool certain actors within the Lagos environment to enable them, you know, achieve the standard and statutes of Lagos State. You know, when we first came in, it was a little the mode of enforcement was largely punitive, and we saw that this wasn't sustainable. You know, we can't use 300 officers to chase down 22 million residents. You know, so we had to look for a better model, you know, to apply a more sustainable model which costs government less, costs the people less, of course, in terms of time, in terms of government spend, in terms of also deliverables, and we have
seen massive success with Eco for Clean Air, which has dovetailed into several smaller programs such as Sanwo-Olu Switch to Gas as well, in which case we are changing the cooking fuel of choice in Lagos from solid fuels, what we call, you find people using plastics, to cook, which has huge health, deleterious health effects, and that then blows back on the government spend on health. We had the commissioner on here earlier, speaking about affordability of healthcare and accessibility of healthcare. We as an environmental institution want to start from the beginning point where we can keep people healthy and prevent people from actually causing issues in the environment, which can then impact their health, impact education, and impact so many other facets of life.
On this show, we like to bring this to the conversation where people can understand.
But you mentioned something, please. You said something switch? Could you?
Okay, someone switch to gas.
Someone switch to gas. So
yes.
If you don't use those unhealthy fuels, what fuels do we have available to use?
Fantastic. Nigeria has recently been Nigeria is one of the largest gas producers globally, or has the potential to be one of the largest natural gas producers. And from a federal level, a lot of action and a lot of initiative and a lot of policy is being driven towards switching people to cooking gas as a safe and easy to use and also affordable source of cooking. A lot of people think firewood is cheaper than gas, but I'll be very, very pleased to let people know that gas is about 3 times cheaper than firewood. The issues surrounding safety are where the government is really focusing on, to make sure that people know the right attitudes and the right attitudes to adopt, along the practices of gas safety, safe use of gas. But I mean, like I said, it's a very broad. It's a very broad project, being that the environment touches everyone. We are working harmoniously with several ministries, departments, agencies in the state to make sure that not only is this education going out, but we have the relevant agencies coming in to do their own part. So for instance, the Lagos State Safety Commission is largely on board to help with training these street cooks and bukaterias and the like on how to safely use gas. And we as an agency then come in and ensure that the environmental regulations are in place.
About availability of gas as compared to firewood, since you made the comparison, but let's talk about your offices, ASEPA offices across the state. How far-reaching are they, and
Okay, fantastic. As I said, we have a mandate from Mr. Governor to bring the statutes and policies of environmental sustainability to the people, and the only way that can be done is through a massive advocacy drive, and that starts by being reachable in the first instance. So when the administration took office, we had about 8 zonal offices. And now that's been expanded to 20. Now let me explain what a zonal office is. So what a zonal office is. A zonal office is just a smaller version of our headquarters agency, where you can go in, lay complaints, pay bills, engage the agency as a partner. For instance, we do invite a lot of public sector and community level inclusive projects, in which case we adopt what is working in the communities and try to put government backing and policy to support it as well. So in terms of being able to reach the government, I don't think it's been easier. It's ever been easier than it is now.
Okay, let's talk about the first government-owned environmental laboratory. What's it about, and what have you achieved with it so far?
Thank you. So it is the first government-owned ISO certified laboratory. Now that simply means that we are operating a laboratory that the results are acceptable and verifiable globally. We maintain the highest level of standards, and this was driven largely in part by the need to monitor what all these initiatives are truly doing. The agency currently deploys about 1,000 plus private consultants to industry, to private sector, to help guide on the regulatory requirements of the state. You know, there are certain environmental reports that are mandatory that need to be submitted to ensure the fair and sustainable use of the environment.
Okay, so when you hear environmental laboratory, I was already thinking there's some chemicals mixing and forming. So is it really about advocacy, about training, about giving, also just having people spread the gospel of better environmental behaviors, or is there some laboratory thing happening in this place?
It's a mix of everything.
Okay.
It starts with advocacy, because if you do not know your duties to the environment, it becomes difficult to then enforce.
I want to pause you, because I always try for this show not to speak over people's heads. You know, I like us to really get down to your daily how your agency affects our daily activities. So, for example, I want my viewer to understand right now what you're saying as regards what is clean air. When I wake up in the morning, am I saying that nobody should be burning, and if I hear somebody burning or see somebody burning some kind of material or whatever, plastic, should I come to you? Number one. Number two, are you there to help stopping the clogged gutters? Are you removing all the clogged gutters? The bottles we see. I see some orange things around town, some orange baskets, big baskets around, where people are putting recycled bottles in there. Is that from you? Is that part of your initiative? I just want to know how that is affecting me, and how do I know the work they're doing?
So, think about everything that you have spoken of. Open burning, smoking vehicles on the road, use of solid fuels to cook. Now, there are individual agencies that are actually in charge of this, but in terms of a regulatory oversight, that is the job of the agency. So it is our job primarily to let Lagosians know this is the standard of the environment that we expect from everyone, so that my own actions
do not affect you.
Oh yes, by all means.
And then what do you do? Do you punish? Do you just educate? Do you punish, or do you compensate for some?
Okay, so if we went out and punished every offender, we'll have a long line of people complaining. Okay, so the whole attitude of the agency had to switch from punitive enforcement, where we are chasing people down, locking shops and doing things like that, to a more sustainable method where people are the ones self-regulating. So that is why we leaned a lot on advocacy, to make sure that there are ways. The main crux is to let people know it is doable. You can live in tandem with the environment. You can live. You can impact your environment in the right way if you have the right tools. So what we have done is we have gone into communities, for instance, to do pre-assessments, to say, okay, what exactly is the reality in this community? What are the environmental challenges? What are the interplays that most people would not even know? For instance, you have an akara seller, you know, who is operating beside someone decanting gas. What are the realities of that for the environment? You know, we saw a lot of issues of maybe explosions and the like. You know, these are the things that we want to understand. What are the intricacies?
Last time the local pastor was here, saying, she was talking about the fact that there was some kind of machine that was able to determine kind of the level of pollution in certain areas, and they have some alarming figures across the state. What have you done? I mean, has the figures come down, or we're still dealing with this in these areas?
So the reality of events such as that is what has bred these initiatives, like the Eco for Cleaner initiative, where the government knows we need independent monitoring, and that is also what has guided the opening of this laboratory, in which case samples can be independently collected, consultants can bring samples to the lab and know that at least at a very affordable rate we can tell the reality of what is happening in the environment. And based on that, based on that strong data set, we can then take low-level solutions, you know, using community solutions. You know, we have a lot of, if you go into Lagos State communities, there are a lot of people, right from your mama that is picking bottles out of the trash, you know, to people selling waste engine oil and the like. The government is now interested in regulating those spaces to make sure that it is being done right, and also the people that are engaging are getting the maximum economic benefit from it as well.
So, if I get you correctly, if I take a sample as an independent Lagos resident now, I take a sample because there's something I suspect to be unhealthy in a gas or a smell I suspect to be unhealthy in my estate, and I bring it to the lab, I can independently have it?
I mean, so, I'm sure that I would take it that those samples have, of course, been collected in the right way. You know, there are standards to collecting the samples that we bring in.
Okay, so let's get it right. If I can't meet the standard because I'm layman, I don't know, I just know that this thing is offensive to my smell.
Please just
whatever business they're doing, and I call the agency to come and get a sample, I can follow through and see an agent from your agency come and pick the samples and do something.
So there's another thing, last step when I hear that name, the next thing I think of is noise pollution.
Yeah.
Please, can you tell us about the noise pollution?
We discussed that to the last time. Some areas still shouting.
I mean, it's we need to police one another at the end of the day. The agency has continued to work hard, but we need the support of the people as well. It's not a one-man show. And that is why I push again that advocacy has been a huge part of what we've tried to do. If I tell you what is wrong, we believe in the power of self-regulation. We believe that Lagosians are law-abiding, well-meaning citizens, you know, and we expect, we definitely believe that. And we are, for instance, we've achieved a lot in terms of road transport workers. If you notice, nobody uses loudspeakers or megaphones to call passengers anymore, and that was as a result of a pact between the agency and the Ministry of Transport, you know, to ensure that we are limiting noise pollution from government sources.
How about churches?
Churches, we are hoping to bring more to the table.
You have to pray about it.
We're hoping to bring more. We're hoping to bring more of the representatives to the table. But of course, we've gotten very, very good positive signs from them that you know, denominations vary, and of course the leadership varies as well. So we don't take a one-size-fits-all approach. We believe in a bespoke solution, and it's a work in progress, but we are definitely making huge strides in it.
Okay, I think we should do more when it comes to that.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Ask questions if I want to ask questions. And if it's something that I saw coming, I may not even ask questions. I may just... I may even tell you I saw this.
What if it's in person, but then would it make a difference where? So like this person might just say, you people can just be on Third Mainland Bridge on a bike, and the person say, babe, I cannot do it again, and you lose range. So what would change? What would change the scenario? Like, does it matter where? Do you want to have like a fancy dinner, like the film you were mentioning?
No, like finding your right.
Or do you want to be on the street?
No, carry me go fancy dinner.
Or you might just una dey run for treadmill.
Or you na dey jog.
You tell you lose for your web.
Now I don't turn attempted murder.
So which would it be? Because I'm like, in person you have the closure that you want and the few injuries.
Guys. That's one place. It could be inside the car. You can sit inside the car.
Why car? Why not bike?
Who will be driving?
Why bike?
Who will be driving at this point?
The car will be stationary.
Pray I'm not the one driving.
The car will be stationary.
Because I go master. If your car be Third Mainland Bridge, I'm going to drive near water.
All
you must consider.
Thanks for staying with us. We'll save our guests with us, Dr.
So let me just move on to the next question. I wanted to make a comment about we've done that during the break. So what's happening with the school advocacy? How are you still reaching out to students? They say we need to catch them young. Yeah.
Yes. So we have adopted a strategy, in which case we have nominated our students as environmental champions, you know, to take this knowledge, you know, to take this new drive of the government to their very homes. We salute the adaptability of Nigerians and Lagosians especially. If you feed them with the right information, they tend to amend their ways. And like I said, as an agency of maybe 300 plus staff, we can't go to every house and knock down every door. But we believe that if we empower our children with information, with actionable policy, help them understand what a clean environment truly feels like, the benefits of a clean environment, even to themselves, you know, they are the people who are handing this over to at the end of the day. So it's a strong leg for the state, especially in public schools. We have through the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, we have something called the Environmental Bees Club, which is a sort of extracurricular scheme, kind of like your Jets Club and your Literature Club and things like that, where environmental enthusiasts, you know, can get live involvement, can get hands-on involvement with environmental solutions,
this
environmental education.
Schools?
Yes, please. Across public schools. And as a pilot scheme, we're also looking to push into the private schooling sector as well.
Let's talk trash for cash. So I was driving my kids on Friday from work. They came with me to work and they saw a point where my son was saying, "Mommy, my teacher said, but is it true they pay for collection of trash? Is it possible?" And I have not seen a case. So I said, I have not seen, but they say they pay. So what exactly is happening for trash for cash?
Okay, so I will try and limit it to plastics, for instance. So I will have us know that over 400 million naira moves daily informally in plastics. 400 million naira.
Really?
So the mamas that are picking those bottles that sometimes wait for you at a party, they are onto something, you know. And we have noticed that with improved regulation, with better partnership, with a more inclusive system, this is something that can even serve as a social subsidy scheme. You know, we have a lot of, the world is going through a global recession. Everybody's looking for new revenue pathways, you know, without necessarily increasing tax. And that's one thing that I would salute the government of the day. A lot of the initiatives have been put through without increasing taxation on citizens, you know, and we are, as agencies, as ministries and departments, have been tasked to create revenue from within the state without necessarily increasing tax. And I mean, this is one of the legs that Trash for Cash initiative stands on. Literally, it is give me what you have considered waste and I will make value out of it. So we have everything going on now from direct exchange for social value. We have things like trash for health insurance, for instance, which is also being in partnership with the Lagos State Health Management Agency, LASHMA. We have a partnership running with the Ministry of Transport through the Cowrie Cards scheme, where we can offer free public transportation for returning plastics. We are working closely with the Ministry of Education to try and roll out a trash for tuition scheme and the like. We are piloting this at a very rapid pace, and we are seeing the value right from private sector through to non-governmental organizations, through to civil service organizations, civil society organizations, all of whom have a huge part to play. You know, we are not reinventing the wheel. This is something that people are already doing. We are just adding more structure to it.
So like, what would you have to wrap up? But thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All the work that's been done at StarTimes. That is all we can take on today's show. Hope we learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.